Thank you. Thanks, Guy, for the introduction. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. So I work for Kantar Operations in the Kantar Mobile division, which houses the mobile strategy for all of the Kantar operating companies. And there I head up a digital incubation team, which tests and develops new technologies. So my day-to-day role at Kantar Operations is not so much that of a researcher, but it's more to really explore and understand new features of the mobile device and its capabilities in the marketplace. So it's really to think about how we can apply these to market research and to not only make our data richer, but to make it more engaging for our respondents as well. So I think the most important factor to consider here really is to not only understand what the main key players in the mobile industry are doing, but what our respondents, our consumers are doing and how they are doing it. Are they using these new capabilities such as facial recognition and voice recognition? And if so, how are they using these techniques? And how can we apply these to market research to collect more valuable insights and to connect with our consumers? So when I submitted this presentation proposal a fair while ago now, I was looking to talk to you about biometric data collection and bite-sized chunks, among other things. As I stand before you today, the trials that we have completed and are working on have somewhat changed, and that's mainly due to the fast-moving and ever-changing mobile landscape. And as my colleague Guy Rolfe mentioned yesterday, for the past 80 years or so, market research has really been very reliant on the question-response model. And we relied on the interviewer to collect this data for us. Today, however, we can collect data through many different methods. So self-administered, mobile, online, and we can collect data actively as well as passively. And this really means that what is relevant and new today won't be relevant or may not be relevant tomorrow and new tomorrow. So that means that we almost have to go against our very instincts to go with what we know, and we need to discover and explore new ways of collecting this data. And we need to do that very quickly. So today I wanted to take the opportunity to talk to you about some of the exciting methods that we've been trialing and that we think are going to be the new research methods of the future for mobile. So we all know that there are challenges with mobile and limitations, and I think we've been discussing them over the past few days, so I won't go into them too much. But it does mean that we can no longer simply rely on our trusted traditional question and answer response model to obtain our data. Consumer behavior is changing and we need to change with them. And I think, as James Ferguson from TNS yesterday pointed out very well, we need to be where they are. We need to mirror their environments and behavior. We need to listen to what they are saying, and we need to see what they're thinking and look at what they're doing at that very moment in time. Combining passive and active data collection to get the full picture. So this is really why it's so key to keep innovating, and this is why Kantar really invests heavily in innovation and exploratory work. And I've already skipped a slide there. How good's that? So, what are some of those innovative and explorative work that we've been testing and trialing? There are different areas that we've been exploring, bearing in mind all of the elements I've just mentioned. So, facial detection and recognition is a technology that's now available on various ranges of devices, and various app developers are providing this technology to us. You can log on to your device and you can use this technology to identify you as its rightful owner. And you can tag the whole world on Facebook if you wanted to. And you can even win an ice cream based on your smile, as we've seen yesterday. So we've recently completed a trial with Milward Brown in Singapore and a facial detection and recognition technology provider called BetaFace. They're based in Germany. So we chose this provider as it claimed that its technology could not only just detect and recognize faces, but also age, gender, ethnicity, mood, and it could even spot whether you were wearing glasses or if you had a beard. Luckily, it said I didn't have a beard. So we asked 30 people of different backgrounds to participate in our trial, to take their photo and upload it using their mobile device. Some of those uploaded photos you see there. And they've been taken from different angles on purpose so that we can identify what the best practice should be there. We've already discussed some of those things earlier in Pankaj's presentation. So we then created a short mobile survey of around 6 questions in which we asked the respondent about the accuracy of the recognition results, what they thought of their experience, and what they thought about the idea of using this technology, to ask them relevant questions to them and to authenticate their identity if they were part of a panel. So how does it work? I'm not going to go too much into the technical detail here, but as I mentioned, we make use of the camera of the phone, and we get the respondent to take a picture, upload it, and for the system to apply its technology to. And this then turns sensor information into demographic data via the camera real time so that we can instantly see the results. So you can see part of the process here, and the outputs for our UK Prime Minister David Cameron are on the slide there. So what does this mean? There are quite a few use cases for this technology. So accurate measurement of age, gender, mood, and other unique identifiers means really that we can use this technology to personalize content. And this is something that Samsung, for example, are already doing with their smart TVs. They've applied facial making up new words as I go along. Facial recognition technology to personalize content that people are watching at home. In our industry, we could personalize survey content that way. So, for example, and it's a very simple example, a female with long hair could be served with questions about a particular shampoo, whereas the bald men in the sample could be left with questions about hair loss products. So we could potentially shorten surveys by routing people to the relevant questions or sections in those surveys. So this technology would really be great to add to qualitative events as well, live events mainly. So we could recruit and profile people, or we could even add it to the Millward Brown facial coding technology, as you have seen in Pankaj's presentation, where we could then provide a full picture of the respondent by combining moment-by-moment emotional response with demographic data obtained through the same technology, real time. And as I alluded to already, it can also be used to classify and validate respondent profiles and to identify and authenticate panel members or even community members. So all of these methods could increase respondent engagement, and they could make survey completion a whole lot easier. So with this trial, we really wanted to test that the technology does what it says on the tin. But what we also wanted to do was to find out if people wanted to use this technology as the ways, in the ways that we intended them to use, and whether they found it engaging and non-intrusive. So, as I'm not a researcher, I won't show stats on the slides. I simply refuse to. But I'll talk you through some of them. So, for the small samples, some stats there. 50% of the sample said that they would like to be served questions that were relevant to them based on the facial recognition data. You can see some comments from our survey there. The other 50% mainly consistent of not sure responses, and some other comments, like you can see there, accuracy and privacy are crucial. And that really is a comment, we've discussed it in the panel, but it's really a comment that I can't agree with more. We need to get the respondents' permission to do this sort of thing, and we need to be really transparent, clear, and upfront with them about what we're going to do with this information. So in terms of accuracy then, for ethnicity, we found that there was a 60% accuracy rate. In terms of age of the sample, the average real age was 29.5 years, and the actual average rate was a bit lower, so it was around 25.5. So there were some anomalies there. In regards to mood, this was much more accurate, 83% accuracy. Though if we look at the quote there on the screen, for one person we didn't spot accurately enough how much fun they were having doing this trial, which well, clearly tells about how engaged people can be. So in terms of gender, 93% accuracy, wearing glasses and beards, also 93% accuracy. So we can see that the system struggled most with ethnicity here. And ethnicity also didn't go into too much detail. Just to give you a little bit of background there then, the BetterFace system is fairly new. BetterFace is based in Germany, quite a small startup company, and their database simply doesn't yet consist of all of the various ethnicity groups that we have out here in the regions as well. And it is really, well, improvement really is here about building a bigger database, which also would have had some impact on the age. So we can improve that. We can train the system for it to become more accurate. The bigger you build your database, the more accurate your data should become over time. What we've also done is we've spent some time running some webcam verbatim video clips through the system, because we also wanted to do something through online as well as mobile. We run that through the system, we got it to work, but what we need to really do here is to set up a large-scale trial to investigate some of the technicalities that could hold back implementation. So the quality of video needs to be really high in order for the technology to work, and you're relying on a good connection and fast processing if you want to overlay this data with active survey data real time. You require an internet connection. We're currently working with BetterFace to apply some filtering and other technologies so that we can make the most out of the quality of the videos that we receive. So it's an area that we're continuing to explore. Another area that we've been exploring is that of voice detection and recognition. So why do we think that voice is so important? Voice interaction technology isn't new. It has been around since the 1970s, and it's been around in the shape of voice IVR systems that were used to route customer service calls. And they were not always that successful. If you think about booking cinema tickets, you were lucky if you were ending up at the right movie in the right cinema. So 2010 and 2011 really marked the emergence of voice as the interface for digital assistants such as Siri, bought by Apple, and later Google Now. Technology manufacturers are focusing more and more on the usability factors of machines and devices, and voice commands is one way of simplifying the phone's or the device user interface. And to quote Eric Schmidt from Google, 25% of all searches on Android are initiated through voice. And this was in 2010. The technology has moved on since then, and voice has become much more common. Yesterday, we heard from Google that search behavior isn't altered from traditional methods to the mobile device. I believe, however, that it may not change what they search for, but it will change how they search for it. I would say that could be, well, that would be the same for market research. It will not alter what they say, but it may change how they say it and where and when they say it. And hopefully that will increase accuracy and getting closer in the moment with the respondent. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So either way, this is an astonishing figure, the 25% already in 2010, and it will only increase with the rise of different devices, such as smartwatches, TVs, cars, and they're all using voice technology now, mainly commands. And even in social media now, we see that people want to voice their thoughts rather than just using text blurbs on Twitter. So I think DigiSocial is a prime example app of that, where users upload a brief video and they overlay that with sound bites to share with the world. And Alistair Hill yesterday referred to the sound of big data too. So I think it's a term that will stick. So what are some of the potential applications for the business then? Adding usability to mobile and even web applications by using a one-button interaction. That means that users can focus on their response rather than trying to struggle with the device and what they need to do. Increased quality of data in regards to mobile text input fields. It's much faster to just speak into your phone and say what you want to say rather than typing a detailed verbatim response. It should also be less prone to error. Useful for intelligent probing, for making the survey more conversational. Plus also the increased level of interaction could reduce users getting into the habit of your survey autopilot almost. It increases survey engagement. Biometrics even, we can use it as a way of security, try to identify panel members and getting them to use, to log in using voice activation, or using it to commands, do commands in surveys. And also, last but not least, we can now reach people, well, it's really relevant for areas where we have a higher level of illiteracy. We can now reach those people and speak to them and get them to talk to them. So providers such as Google, Nuance and iSpeech turn voice into data, and they do so with confidence levels. These engines enable services such as Siri and Google Now. So what have we tested and what are some of the results? So we tested those three providers by deploying this technology in a simple mobile app survey in which we used a few question types, so numeric, yes, no, multiple choice and open-ended. And we found that Google is the most accurate and it supports the most languages. Some of the challenges, however, was the identifying and testing of suppliers and the different technologies. It's a very elaborate process. We finally found out that Google was the best one, but it does mean that that's only Android we've covered there. So we need to think about how we're going to move forward. Security, we need to put stringent measures in place to ensure we manage the data that's passing through different parties, Google and Nuance and so on. And we need to think about where the respondents are when we're asking them to do these voice surveys. A highly personal survey subject may not be so great to ask a respondent to talk about, though you'd be surprised what you hear on the bus nowadays. So we also need to teach the system to learn, and that's the same as with facial recognition. The bigger the database you build, the more accurate your technology gets. So what's the way forward here, and how do we make the most of speech? As I said, we've created a simple voice survey. We established it works. We've established what the use cases would be. We now need to perform some usability testing in collaboration with Lightspeed. When we get some panel members in and we show them the device and we film them in using it and we ask them questions about usability and what they like and what they don't like and what their concerns are. We also want to compare some results of a normal survey that's already been completed versus using this technology. We want to further explore if we can take the technology that far to get to NLI, natural language interaction, which would enable the respondent to have a full-blown human-like conversation with technology, almost eliminating the need for an interviewer. So there's a lot of exciting stuff here that we continue to explore. So another area that we've trialed is operator data, something that's been discussed quite a lot over the last couple of days. So I'll keep it short, I'm running out of time as well. So we've been working for a while now with mobile operators and talking about, well, actually doing it, matching their network data with panelists. So we've done a trial with a European provider during the Olympics. And used Lightspeed panelists for this, and we've proved that it works. So with the respondent's permission, we pulled carrier data, matched that to panel data, and applied geofencing, meaning that we could then follow up with the respondents, asking them relevant questions, i.e., did you go to the Olympics? Where did you go? How did you enjoy it? What advertising did you see? So we also wanted to measure browser and app usage by using our own in-house developed taxonomy. Some of the challenges we faced in this trial were the fact that in many countries, working with one mobile operator causes the sample not being representative enough because it can be quite skewed. to young or affluent people. Data that's of interest to us usually sits in different boxes stored by the operator, and it's really hard to get these connected up. And even if you talk with several people in one mobile operator, they often are not quite connected up or don't really know what they can get out of their data themselves. So sometimes you get conflicting messages and you have to go back and forth to get all of the data that you really, really need. At the end, we did get great data, but it took us a few months to get this data. And mobile operators often think that 6 months is okay to deliver data, but we all know that we need to action insights very, very quickly. And we simply don't have that much time. So what we found so far is that there's a need to ensure that the data can be pulled quickly and efficiently, and that it captures all that is collected from the consumer by the operator. As we did, for example, not capture all of the subdomains. So, for example, if somebody visited the BBC website, we could easily see that, but we couldn't quite see if they read an article on the sports page about an Olympic event on that day. So there is still a lot to investigate. We can make the processes run smoother, but we do know what the value is to us, to our clients, and also, as Huawei pointed out yesterday, what the value is to the operators. So we've already got some projects lined up to continue this. So what are we going to trial next? So now that we've tested and trialed the technologies that we see it as the next big things, we need to do some larger scale trials using these technologies and overlay them with active real-time survey data, where we have already done this on a smaller scale. We want to optimize the technology. We need to add value to these capabilities, because each of the Kantar companies, for example, may have a different use case for all of this data. What business needs can we answer using these methods to create mobile solutions and offers to our end clients? Because that's really what it's all about. It's not about the tools, it's about the products. Having said that, we do need to figure out and complete our thinking around how to productionalize these methods and how we scale them up quickly. So the conclusion is that all of this new data provides new insights. So the mobile phone is really the integral link for everything, and we're producing more powerful data than ever. Passive data will no longer be coming from the PC or the mobile device soon. As Guy Rolfe rightly mentioned in his presentation yesterday, we will see huge amounts of data coming from different ranges of devices, such as fridges and televisions and smartwatches and so on. So we're also currently setting up a trial that looks at smart TV owners, monitoring their smart TV usage and behavior through a router box using our panel. So the connected world is no longer limited to the mobile device, but it will start to shift its focus to the Internet of Things. We will need to start measuring usage and behavior of all of the connected items in the household, as these can all provide very, very valuable data. So the mind boggles. So just to summarize, both voice and facial recognition technologies require machine learning to increase accuracy. We want to investigate how and where people want and will be using this technology, and that really needs to match the real world as much as possible, or it will fail. We need to provide clear instructions with respondents around the usage of this technology, and we need to seek their permission before we do that. We need to keep it very focused. So in 3 words, tell me. I want to say that there is clearly a wealth of information which we now can get in a non-intrusive manner. It allows us to get closer to respondents whilst in the moment, and these new methods can also be used to improve respondent engagement. So all very, very exciting methods to explore, and I'm even more excited about its potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent. So, do we have any questions from the floor at all?
They're too mind-boggled.
That was good. Oh, we got one question from over there at Microsoft.
Hi, I'm Norman. Sorry, I have too many questions today. I wonder if you, so looks like the facial detection, mostly the objective of your research was to try to identify the person versus to actual research their emotions, like unlike the prior. So, did you look into some other, or maybe did you consider some other forms of input to identify the person? Like now the biotechnology is growing, maybe blood test. I don't know, blood test is too much, but like I remember there was a Motorola device that it had a fingerprint reader, so you could. It was an Android device. You could read the fingerprint, or now I think there is even app where you can hold your finger in front of the camera, and that's how it can identify you. Any research done in that area?
Yes. So very good point you raised there, and good question. So I guess a couple of points to my answer there then. In regards to identification, I guess the key objective of developing and exploring new technologies is really how we can use it to improve the way we do research. And I guess identification is one element that we could use for our panel members, but it's not going to really improve our research methods, so to speak. It's not going to give us much different data. So I guess using facial recognition and voice recognition, which you can also use to identify people, can be used for that, but it also has many more use cases, which is why we really want to explore it. In terms of biometric data, we have explored quite a lot around that. We wanted to try and test a biometric patch that a respondent sticks on their chest, and it collects all of their biometric data, such as glucose level and blood pressure, and could even measure the calories that they were burning whilst they were standing up or sitting down, and because it had an accelerometer in it. We were quite far ahead in getting a trial together for that, but the supplier said, well, listen, market research is in fact not so important to us, and we really want to focus in getting this out to hospital because doctors can use it. So, which is why I haven't been able to present anything today about biometric data. So I guess, well, does that answer your question? Yes, thank you.